Hey, what's up? So I just wanted to start real quick. I'm just going to say sorry that I don't have a ton of footage of these games that are going to be in the background, the gameplay from the Samsung Gear VR throughout this video. As I kept trying to capture footage for this thing, it just turned out that the capture feature that is built into some of these apps is built into a lot less of them than I initially thought it was. And there's just not a great way to capture footage for this thing. The first 6 months or so that it was out, no one could really capture footage for it without using like a Chromecast kind of combo thing. Yeah. And even now that you can, very few apps support it. So I finally just gave up, because I know that most people are going to just be listening to this versus actually watching this, because most people know what VR footage looks like at this point. I'm just going to leave the 5 minutes or so that I have on loop through this discussion, because I know that for myself, if I'm watching a video like this, I actually am just tabbing out and listening to someone's opinions versus actually watching the video. So that being said, I hope you enjoy the video. Like it if you liked it, obviously. On to the video. All you beautiful people that want to put plastic stuff on your face, this is my thoughts, review, whatever you want to call it, on the Gear VR. So I'm going to speed over this intro stuff real fast, because if you're looking at this video, you probably know all this already. It works with Samsung Galaxy phones from the S6 up. S6, S6 Edge, all the way up to the Note 7. Okay, maybe the Note 7, don't want to put that close to your face, but it will work with any Galaxy and Note phones. To be clear, the new black version that they just came out with doesn't change anything performance-wise. The only thing it does is basically adds a button. I don't remember what. It's basically the equivalent of a pause button, if I remember right, or something along those lines. But basically, it's almost the exact same thing. So, to be clear, I have used Google Cardboard and I've used an Oculus DK2, and I'll be kind of trying to contrast those after I get through the build quality and comfort. So first, I'm going to discuss the comfort of this thing. The only complaint I have is the nose part gave me some mild discomfort after more than 30 minutes, like if I was watching a movie or something like that in the theater setting. Otherwise, this is probably the most comfortable headset I've tried on so far, and I've seen that echoed from people who have even used the HTC Vive and things like that, so probably one of the most comfortable ones. We'll see if the Google Google Vision Daydream. Yeah, maybe that'll be more comfortable. Who knows? It's extremely light, which adds to the comfort quite a bit, but it's not light in that way that it kind of feels cheap and plasticky and like it's not a good quality thing. It feels light as in it feels light on your face because there's very little electronics in there. You're still going to have your VR hair, but get this, that top strap is removable, and if you are kind of leaning back in a chair to watch something on the theater, you can pop that top strap off and don't have to worry it's not going to sag down on your face or anything like that. The build quality of this thing feels light, like I said, but not cheap. The $80 price tag may seem a bit high, and did to me at first, but there's a lot of neat little touches in this that make it well worth the $80 in my opinion. It's not just a plastic box like the kind of slightly higher end Google Cardboard boxes, the VR box and things like that you can buy for $20 to $45 depending on what they are and if they come with a controller and whatnot on Amazon. This is far and away in a whole nother league from those things. $80 is not bad, especially if you've never tried VR. If you've never tried VR and are interested at all, buy this thing, and I'll say the same thing I originally said about the DK2. At the very least, look at it as I'm going to spend 80 on it and then sell it for 40. 40 bucks for what you'll get out of this is more than worth it. The FOV on this, I believe, is slightly lower than a DK2, but I'm not certain on that. If it is, it's not noticeable. I think it's like maybe 5 degrees less or something, but it's plenty adequate. I do wish for the first time ever that I had a phone that I couldn't text in one hand with, because something like a Note would actually increase the FOV on this just by a smidge, but it's not totally necessary. You lose yourself in it pretty quick. It's not, you know, full-blown wraparound all of your actual peripheral vision, but none of the headsets are, so I would just say FOV is adequate on this. So first, I'm gonna just compare this to the cardboard, and this is gonna be very short. I'm not gonna go crazy in depth. So the biggest difference is that when you pop your phone into this and plug it into the little USB thing that it slides into the front of this headset, by plugging it in that, it automatically boots your phone into an Oculus / Samsung storefront, which is basically kind of a mobile version of the Oculus store on their website for DK2, or not DK2, but Oculus owners on the actual PC. So stuff has to pass through their stringency, kind of whatever. They're stringent. Their stringentness. It's stringentified. It has to be passing muster and verified by them to be okay to be on this store. So that being said, you're not doing the same thing you did with cardboard, and I'm just going to go ahead and point this out now. It's also kind of a benefit over Oculus on the PC as well. This is a very hand-picked, curated set of games and apps and things that you can use on this thing. So if you're just looking for the absolute lowest barrier to entry, this thing's kind of the best thing you could possibly get for VR, because out of everything I tried, and I tried a lot on it at this point, I haven't tried a single thing that I just thought, wow, the FPS on that is so bad I can't deal with it. And I have the most low-end phone that you're allowed to use with this thing, and still everything ran absolutely perfect in my opinion. The only problem I had in a few games was that if I was trying to capture video and play, like the Suicide Squad thing that I'm gonna try to remember to put the footage in over this particular part of my talking. Other than that game, and I think when I was using the Samsung Internet app, when I was trying to capture, I would occasionally get the warning that said, your phone's getting hot, you need to turn the app off. But other than that, it ran perfect. No stutter, no lag, nothing. With Google Cardboard, I couldn't even ride roller coasters on it. It made me want to throw up, honestly. The lag, the input lag is so bad, the frame rate was so bad on a lot of that stuff. Using the same phone that I used for this, the exact same phone. So this is kind of the cheap entry-level thing that is far and away a whole lot better than an actual, just a Google Cardboard, but still lacks a few tiny things that I'll describe here in my section about the DK2. So spatial tracking, I've mentioned this on the Google Cardboard thing. I think I mentioned this when I did my DK2 thoughts. Spatial tracking is one of the #1 things outside of the 3D that helps this. Because the 3D itself, the FOV, I think personally that it's just as good as a DK2. I can't speak for the actual Oculus release version, but a lot of people have said that it's very similar to the DK2 also. So basically the 3D and the smoothness of this thing, the overall everything except for that spatial tracking is basically there. And this is 80 bucks, doesn't require a $600 Oculus, and doesn't require, a $1,500 computer or something along those lines, whatever it ends up being, $1,000 computer, whatever. More is available on the DK2 to play, but again, if you're just wanting to sit down in a chair like I wanted by the time I got the Gear VR, just sit down in a chair after work, after my kids are asleep, and just get lost in a world of some sort of experience or whatever for just a minute, this is perfect for that. This is absolutely perfect for that. So now that I've got all that out of the way, and I hopefully can edit that down because I did not mean to be 8.5 minutes in at this point already, I'm going to talk to you about the things that I have tried on the Gear VR and the Oculus. So these are the 3 apps that I could find on Gear VR that were things that I had tried the exact same game / experience or whatever on a DK2. So the first one is Titans of Space. Titans of Space is one of those that, for me personally, I never really got as much out of it as a lot of people seem to get. It's really just to kind of show off the sense of scale, but at this point I have used some sort of VR headset enough that the sense of scale thing just strictly put in my face in the way that Titans of Space does. It makes me go, yep, the 3D works, and moves on. It doesn't hit me in the same way that the theater does, which is, I did not even mean to transition like that. The Oculus Cinema is the next one that I've used on both. I think it's not identical on both. It's actually better on the Gear VR, because with the DK2, I never watched a full movie on it. I'd get maybe 5 minutes into watching something in a theater and think, this is really neat and novel, and that's about it. I can't kick back in a chair. With the Gear VR, the Netflix apps do the same thing that this does, but the Oculus Cinema does this thing where you can lay down in a recliner, tap the touch screen on the side to recenter where the screen is, and basically have a 100-foot wide screen look like it's being projected up into the sky above you. So you're just laying in a recliner and looking, you just tap the button to center the screen wherever you want to be. Just find wherever you're comfortable and you're good to go. I've laid in bed and watched John Wick. It was the first movie I watched in this thing, and I've watched several others now. It's that comfortable. It's the best as far as the cinema viewing experience on a headset could possibly be. I other than sharper imagery, which on an S6 and basically any of the Galaxy phones, you're actually looking at 1440p screens, not 1080p screens, so it's sharper than a DK2 actually, and sharper than an Oculus. Those are 1080 screens. So you're looking at a very clean image. You really kind of don't even notice the screen door effect after just a minute or so. It goes away very quickly. So there's that, you know. The next thing and final thing that I actually have done on both was Ocean Rift, and that one, in the absolute inverse of this last one here, was kind of lame on the Gear VR because it didn't have, like I said, the spatial tracking. The shark cage thing, that one in particular, you can't lean in, you can't kind of like yank back or anything. Without an actual controller, you can technically swim around with touchpad, but it's pretty bad. So I don't know, that was one that even on the DK2, again, I wasn't super into that, but you know, is what it is. So these I'm gonna brush over real fast now. These are the two games that are just actual legitimate games that I have tried on this thing. Floor Plan and the Suicide Squad, whatever the heck you want to call it. Now, the Suicide Squad thing, I guess it's kind of neat for a second. I've probably played it all of like 6 minutes. Floor Plan was really cool. It was on sale for $3, so I figured why not, I'd try it. I haven't tried all that many games for this thing because honestly I'm not that interested in gaming on this thing. I was buying it specifically for the experiences, but I wanted to try a few things. And from what I've read and the two things I've tried, games on this, they're kind of their own thing. They're more of like a point-and-click adventure. That's what Floor Plan is. That's what this one game that reminds me of Monument Valley, but I cannot think of the name of it is called. It's what it reminds me of. A lot of them are more of just kind of, hey, check out this environment, and you can click on some stuff, which is kind of just slowing down VR experiences. So I don't know. I guess some people are going to buy this and think it has to be for gaming because I'm doing it with the phone and a controller, so it's got to be a game thing, right? You know. But I don't think that's what this is for personally. I think that if you're getting this to play games on, you're probably going to be fairly disappointed. I mean, it does have Minecraft. That's going to be all you need to know for some people. There's probably I'm sure there are people out there who bought this because they were like, Minecraft in VR for $80, yay! But that's just not what I was buying it for, and I think that the majority of people are probably not buying it for that. They're buying it for the experiences. So next, I'm going to talk about the experiences. Now, first, Samsung Internet. I wanted to try this just to see if an internet browser could even be doable on a headset, because there was some kind of ghetto side loads things that you could do to use a browser on a DK2. The screen was just not quite sharp enough for that. That extra just a little smidge of pixels, the 1440p over 1080p, made it perfectly doable. I'm not saying that I would, you know, use this as a ton of browsing or whatever, but to just kick back and watch some YouTube or something, sure. It does force you to use your Samsung browser on your phone. For me, I always use Chrome, so actually that kind of was a little bit of a bummer because I don't use that, so I didn't have any bookmarks in there, I didn't have anything. But, you know, to log into YouTube and just see that, be able to use their 360-degree videos in there, that's kind of neat. Here, if I can remember to, I'll try to put one in here. The only downside is, and this was the same thing with a Google Cardboard actually, if you don't have a screaming internet connection, you're not going to be able to view these amazing pieces of art. Most of them are pretty terrible. Some of them are kind of cool, most of them are terrible. You're not going to be able to view them in a higher resolution unless you sit there very patiently waiting. The next thing I tried, and I probably should try this first, was their introduction to virtual reality thing. There was a thing similar to this on the Oculus, and I liked it a lot more. This one was decent, I guess. It was a bunch of 360-degree video. Not a whole lot to say about that. It's something good to keep on there to just put this headset on somebody and be like, here, stand here or sit here, check this out. It's just the same thing that the Oculus one was of just saying, and in a world where, I don't know, things happen. Oh, turn your head, whoa. And then scans everything and then ends with something along the lines of like, Gear VR. Or, I don't know. I don't remember exactly how it did it, but it's very similar to that. So another thing that I tried, and this is something I highly recommend you try, is the Oculus 360 degree Photos app. Now, this particular app, I would say if nothing else, go to the 360 degree 3D art, I think is what it's called. It's on the homepage when you first boot the app up. And go through, there's like 32 images. I say images, stand up. If you can at all do it, stand up when you're in these. And you will get the most incredible sense of space that you could possibly get, especially in a still image. It's impossible to explain. I'm hoping that I can capture some footage of this. I'm still working out ways to try to get footage for some of this stuff because it's very hard to get footage for this thing. Some apps support a little function that you freeze it, and again, like I said earlier, it typically heats it up a lot on my phone because I have the lowest end possible phone you can use for this, but I'm trying. So the next thing that I would highly recommend you try is the Jurassic World Apatosaurus app. Now, this thing is super short, it's about a minute long, but it is one of the better short things I've ever seen as far as just put this on someone's head and tell them to stand there and just watch their jaw drop. It does a better job than just about anything I've seen of giving you a sense of scale, better than Titans of Space in my opinion. When the dinosaur leans back and stands up over you, and it's a gentle, giant, leaf-eating dinosaur. You don't have, it's not a horror thing. It's just scale and this incredible sense of presence when this dinosaur leans into your face. It's amazing. The eye right in your face, it's awesome. I also tried this short film thing called Colossi or Colossi. It was okay. I didn't really care for it too much. It was an animated thing you watch and it's kind of over. It's very simple. It's about 2 minutes long. I can't capture footage for that. That's one that they have the function blocked on. Another thing I tried was a couple of apps called Within. It was previously called Verse, VRSE, back on the cardboard. And I don't know if it's called Within on there now, but it's called Verse now on here. And used to be called Verse on here. And another one very similar called Samsung VR, and it was previously called Milk VR. And both of those are basically video hubs. Think a YouTube that is filtered for only 360 degree video and that is curated on top of that. So it's not just anyone can upload. All that stuff is really neat. Basically anything that you look at that you think you're interested in, click on it and it's gonna say stream or download. I love that function because my internet is not fast enough to stream high resolution 360 degree video. It's just not. So it allows me the ability to tap on a few of those, get 2 or 3 gigs of those downloading, and then the next time I get a chance to sit down and watch 20 minutes of these things, just sit down and enjoy the full resolution version of it. It's awesome. There are some scarier ones on there. Catatonic is one of them. I tried that. I did. Screw it. No, never. No, not doing that. It's terrifying. I just can't. Horror is not my thing. Horror in VR is a billion times worse than regular horror, so just no. There's quite a few more things on here, but I think I've really, I think you get the idea. I've tried a lot of stuff on both. I've tried a lot of stuff that I've actually tried on both, if that makes any sense at all. So I'm gonna now explain just, do I think it'll last? I don't know. I'm starting to think it won't, honestly. The PSVR is now out. The HTC Vive is now out. They're all out. Microsoft has now announced they're gonna have a headset that is tether free, no wires tethering you to a computer. I just think the biggest problem is that they're kind of barking up on the wrong tree on this stuff. That, or they're just, I don't even think they're sure which tree to bark up in the first place. VR is still in its baby stages, and it has made leaps and bounds more progress than VR has ever made to try to get to this point in the past. The technology it's so close. Tech is so close. And this, in my opinion, the Gear VR is one of the best things to try to intro people to VR. It's right there. This is just it's fairly cheap. You put it on someone's head and you go, here, try this. And then they can try it and they can see that sense of space, that amazing, amazing sense of space. A lot of my friends know that I'm real bad about buying something like this and immediately selling it. I'm gonna hang on to this for a while because I want to put this on like my my grandma's head. I want to take it to her and just be like, here, and just try it. Put this on and just see if she just flips out with amazement, or if she's just kind of like, well, you know, that's kind of nice, that's kind of cool. That's very possible. That may be her reaction. But this thing is so straightforward, so simple. It's perfect for that. This is, really wish that these were a more popular device, because since I got this, I've tried to, without being weird about it, lightly edge into conversations with people. Hey, have you heard of that Gear VR thing? I think they gave it away with the phones or something. You know what that is? Very few people know what the heck this thing is. There's a lot of people that have said, yeah, it came with my phone. I don't know, I never checked it out of the box. I've heard multiple people say that. I'm just like, oh, God, why did I even buy one? I literally know 4 people that work in the building that I do that they never even opened them. It's the problem with VR. It's the biggest problem with VR. So just all along is that until someone has tried it, they don't know. You just don't. And I still don't know. Like, I know what it can do, but I don't know what it's supposed to do. It requires total seclusion from the rest of the world. That's a big problem with it. For me personally, I have maybe for 10 minutes got to put this thing on and actually put both headphones on, because of the fact that when I'm using this, it is at night, my kids are both asleep, my wife is asleep, and I'm gonna go and sacrifice, you know, an hour of sleep to get to mess with my Gear VR here and there. And even then, I'm not gonna put both earbuds in, because even then, I don't want, if something goes on that I need to be aware of, you need to at least have some simulation of what's going on around you. And VR, to really, you know, get into it, requires you to not have a clue. Someone could walk into your house and rob you blind, and you wouldn't know if you had headphones on and a VR headset on, because it's so encasing. You don't see anything around you. You can't hear anything around you if you have good headphones. And that's a big problem, because it's a weird feeling, honestly. You feel kind of vulnerable, and B, it requires people that have families to ignore their family completely. And that's, you know, that kind of leads to my next point here, is that it's not a big party thing. It's not a multi-person thing. Look at like the Nintendo Wii, one of the weakest consoles ever comparatively with the other ones of that generation, and it was the most successful as far as units sold, because people would look at it and go, wow, that's something I can do some Wii bowling with friends. VR headsets are in a very similar way. You need to sell the console first, and there's nothing about these that screams to the general public, hey, I gotta go get one of those because that'd be something great to do with my husband or my wife or my friends or my brother or whatever, because you don't. This is a very, very single thing. The PlayStation VR tried to kind of do some stuff with that, like, oh, look, they'll stare at the screen and try to tell you which guy to shoot at the bar or whatever, I don't remember, but even that, it's just such a gimmick. That's Kinect type stuff, you know, Microsoft, Xbox 360 Kinect type stuff. That won't last. I can't really think of a game that would work for this where you can actually have multiple people, other than the online stuff where you're all in VR headsets, and to me those are almost more depressing than anything, because it's like, I could just go talk to actual people at this point. I'm spending a lot of money and time and technology to digitally talk to other people. So yeah, I don't know. In short, I want this to work so bad. The cost for the real sets need to come down. That'd be the biggest thing that would help. That supposedly is where the next HTC Vives, if those happen, that's where they're shooting for, is to bring costs down on them, and keep the specs the same, instead of just continuing to shoot for the stars and making it to where they're excluding 99% of people out there, because most people don't want to spend $800 on a headset and $1,000 on a computer on top of that. So yeah, I've been talking for a long time now about this. I'm gonna stop now. I might make a follow-up video or something like that. If I skip something that you want to know, ask. My YouTube account is set up to basically you're almost texting me. If you comment, it goes straight to my phone as a notification. I can tap on it and respond right there. So if you got any questions, comments, things like that, just feel free. Thumbs up this video if you liked it, please. It helps more than anything if you do that. So that's it. Have a great day.